Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Moby with Lifestyle with Dr. Moby. And today we are honored with the great filmmaker Justin. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing excellent. Good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for coming to our show. So, give us a little more intro about your work, sir.
Yeah, I do a variety of things. I have a video production company here in Fresno, California called Blair Media. And right now I have two movies that are going to be coming out this month. One this month, one in December, one in January. And the one that's coming out in January is called Better. And that's specifically about how to eat, think, and live better. And it's a lot about weight loss. We interviewed 5 Harvard doctors, 28 different diabetes patients, and yeah, it was quite a journey.
Wow, wow. And I have a great respect for that because, as I was sharing with you, my own lifestyle changed 4 years ago. I lost 100 pounds and I always kept it down. For me, being also in the medical field, problem we run into is, twofold. One is the whole system is for some reason geared towards continuation of problems which
Yeah.
are so, I can't understand that yet. I know the problem is there, but I don't know why the media is more focused always on food industry, and they highlight their kind of keep going on the same problem. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you discussed some of those aspects in your movie, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've been lied to for a long time, and that's really what it comes down to. And whether people were doing that on purpose or whether they just had bad information, it's really sunk into a lot of people's brains some very misleading concepts and just flat out fraudulent claims about how your body works, about how your brain, gut, and hormones get together and actually help you sustain weight loss or keep at a certain set point, what we call it, what Jonathan Baylor, the New York Times bestseller behind the book and in the movie, what he calls it, and that's a well-known term from the 80s, but your set point is basically where your body wants to be in terms of weight. And so there are a lot of things you could do to mess that up, and people sort of have it backwards a lot of times about how calories work exactly.
And that is such an important concept, actually. What you have pointed out is, let's take example of salad. People have kind of changed the salad concept into actually full of calories and full of nutrients. So the salad portion, the main soul of the salad, I would say, the main concept was salad was to lose actually some calories and be simplified. So people add bacon, people add 10 other things in it. As a result, the salad is 1,000 calories. Okay, and
It's a big
same.
salad. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
big salad.
So it's no longer salad, by the way. And
Yeah.
same stand for guac and others. So if you look at some media marketing, they do that, and they have these products. They come up with these products, and they claim that so-called, and same stand even for keto diet.
Yeah.
So so there is lot of misinformation. So there is a line which they cross, and I always say, the difference between food and poison and or medicine is the quantity, pretty much. So if you take more quantity of anything which your body cannot process or cannot handle, it becomes toxic. That's very simple concept. But so if we cross the line, if we take the same food in more quantity, it is poison for our body. Your same stand for vitamins, same stand for food and whatever you pick, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, well, and not only that, but different foods are uniquely addictive in different ways, and they interact with our brain, gut, and hormones in different ways to make us want more of some things. And there's something that they say about, like, if you've had a steak dinner, for example, and someone's like, here's another steak, do you want it? Most people are like, no, I'm good. I had a steak. That's plenty. But if they come to you and say, here's a little dessert, would you like it? you're
Mm-hmm.
probably going to say yes, because dessert just fits in a different way into our body. Just not only how our body metabolizes it and uses it, and the sugar, and obviously it's a different thing than what a steak is, but in our brain, you can sort of keep packing in desserts. They don't satiate us in the same way. We're
Mm-hmm.
certainly, we become addicted to the sugar and to the simple carbohydrates in them. And so, yeah, there's a lot of science behind
Mm-hmm.
what we can overeat and how easy it is to overeat certain things. And I think once you unlock some of that information, it becomes a lot easier to understand why it's not a willpower game as much
Yeah.
as a biology game. And that's really what we try to dig into in the documentary.
And that is, I'll be really looking forward for that. And I always wish that a lot of people kind of focus on that. And I think the other thing is, I always tell, maybe we should, and I'm working on that concept, is making some kind of app. So when they go to, let's say for example, McDonald's, and you want to downsize your meal and kind of get, um, and then say the rest goes to donation some kind, or go to poor family, or
Yeah, that'd be neat. Yeah.
yeah, you can. So you still enjoy, but you feed it two people with the same money. And in that, in that way, we take care of some of the homeless, poor, and so forth. And we also take care, we eat less, pretty much. So
Yeah,
we
that's a
actually.
very interesting concept. That'd be cool. Yeah, I mean, because I think as children, a lot of times, and this is not a malicious thing that parents do, but they're like, finish what's on your plate. And so I think a lot of people sort of internalize these ideas that you need to finish your meal all times. And obviously in America, we have big meal portions. And so the idea that you not only will get a lot of food, but you also need to finish your food, or else somehow ethically or morally you have problems. If you don't do that, then that leads to a lot of sort of weird binge eating and in incentivizing on the wrong path for that. And so that's sort of scary. But we also don't want to waste food. So that's where you get into it, like don't take more than you can eat. So there's some psychology there that it takes a little unraveling to get to the bottom of. And we talk a bit about that, but we talk a lot about shame in the movie. And that's really one of the important things is, people have a very unhealthy relationship with food, obviously. And there's a lot of cycles that they can get into, a lot of vicious cycles to where you're eating, you're sad and you're depressed and you're lonely. And I interviewed 28 people about this for an hour or two at a time. And so it really sunk into me. And, I'm a naturally thin person. I haven't had to deal with this stuff much in my life, but my mom has. And so I have some sort of an idea of how it works. But I really understood it on a profoundly different level, just how hard it was for these people. And they're being told something that just won't work. They're just being told, eat less, just have less, and it becomes not a quantity thing, because if you eat, sort of what you're talking about, eating less poison is still poison. It's not necessarily like that's not the answer at the end of it. And how can other people eat less and still they can eat more rather? And it doesn't seem to balance out, So obviously there's some biology involved in that. And obviously there's some psychology involved in that too. And so people who've been struggling with diabetes, which is diabetes and obesity, their whole lives, like they just know the shame and they know the guilt and then they know the feelings that are buried underneath all that stuff,
Mhm.
which comes out in a lot of very painful ways. That was what I found being in the room with these people and really hearing it from their point of view.
Mhm. And I think that is there are two important concepts. I think we talk and you were discussing that and beautifully. Is
Thank you.
first is there are the food itself, especially the corn. Okay, so what happened is these processed food. So I give example of apple. So apple has this coating, very nice skin, and it has this flavor in it and lot of fiber. And
Yeah,
but if you try to squeeze the juice, then what happens is all the carbs get separated from fiber. Okay,
sure.
totally. And they claim that, oh, we're giving the best. What? That's not the best, actually. That's the worst. Okay,
It's the
for
worst
our,
part of the apple.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
It's just sugar. Yeah. And it's no different than any other sugar at that point. Just because
yeah,
it came from an
exactly.
apple,
Same
has
thing.
apple flavoring. Yeah. What are you gaining?
Yeah,
It's
what
just
we are
sugar.
gaining. So then we concentrate. Now the body, was more tuned to their full apple, was actually could handle full apple very well, but it
Yeah.
can't handle the sugar portion, because the sugar will now shoot to 100, 200, whatever. In a very short time, it shocks your pancreas, and then it sends this wrong signal, and pancreas gets burned pretty much, because
Yeah.
it cannot keep up with that high demand. Body needs gentle, 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 and it needs basically more. So what we are creating is a shock to the body, 600, 500 sugars, and then body stunned pretty much. And then, not to mention, they keep on eating. So I tell them, stomach is a bag. Okay, a bag can only transfer the food via blood, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's no other way. It has to actually process such a fine way that it has to enter blood, and the blood will go to liver, right? Pretty simple concept. Now the body blood is limited, it's about 5 liters. So, and it has to worry about kidney, it has to worry about heart, it has to worry about brain, right? So if you're gonna eat big meal, then what will happen, all the blood will be diverted to intestine and stomach, because there is limit finite, it cannot produce 10 liter of blood. So it has to manage that 5 liters, so it's going to divert whatever 1 liter or 2 liter to stomach, and then rest area. So we feel very drowsy and lousy after eating a big meal, because one of the reason is, the body can't handle it. Okay.
Yeah.
So those are very simple, and then it will go to liver, and then ultimately it has to get absorbed. Now, there's nothing else. There's no other process in the body. So that's what people miss. So I said, eat less at a time. Don't kill yourself. This is not your last meal. There's no hurry, right? There's no hurry, right? Just eat less at a portion control, and then drink plenty of water before you eat less. So your body, be gentle to your body, be kind to your body, and your body will be very kind to you too, because it is help your body, and there's no rocket science. So but I realized that myself, I gained, I was overweight and all that, and people say, oh, I'm busy and I've stress. I said, well, do you think I don't have stress? My stresses didn't go away. So 4 years now, and 4 years my stresses hasn't eased up. Is my approach to the stress has changed. My philosophy towards food has changed, and that's all we want to change people to, is to think. And there is mindful eating.
Yeah.
People, I think so. There's a mind. If you just put a little bit, enjoy your food more. Just it take 5, 10, 15 minutes. I think the worst thing is fast food created is this culture where people will have 5 or 10 minutes, and they will take the food and eat in 2 minutes and be back to work, right? I think that is a big problem. And I was also in Department of Defense and Army, and I saw them too. Okay, so they get very little time, and this is sad, because you should actually sit and enjoy your food. And a lot of studies have seen that if you eat and enjoy all the flavors, and you actually eat less. But if you shove a lot of food in 1 minute without realizing, you tend to overeat by big numbers. And not to mention, you are dissatisfied, you are not relaxed. So that's a mindful eating is such an important concept, which I always want everybody to kind of pay attention to, because that's where I think take your time, enjoy it. Just what difference makes if you take 30 minutes just to finish your meal, right? And so people say, oh, my metabolism is change. Yes, it does change, but not to a degree that you cannot work. So I lost all the weight when I was in my late 40s, not when I was teenager. Okay, so that's it. And then surgery. So the other problem is the surgery. So a lot of people will offer surgery and says, "Oh, they look great," but problem is, even with surgery, you have to realize the concept does not change, because problem was never in stomach. So they staple the stomach very good. They cut the stomach in half size. But if your brain is same, if your thinking is same, guess what will happen in next 2 years? Or you will go back to same weight pretty much.
Yeah.
So, but they push surgery. They push surgery, and then so that's a big disaster in making, because you can have complication from surgery. First of all, it's never an answer. Second, so I really have, but people have free will, so which we can force them, but
Yeah. Yeah, surgery is a dangerous thing. We definitely talked to some people that had gone through that. It did not make their life better. And they brought the same amount of shame, guilt, the bad eating habits, the psychological issues that they had. They brought that after the surgery, and they ended up right back where they were. Not only that, but it cost them a lot of money. It cost them a lot of time. And they also ended up with gastrointestinal issues that they didn't have before, acid reflux, that sort of thing. So it was not, and we're talking to a small amount of people, but it definitely was not a solution to any of them. And then once they started eating sanely, is what we call it, and I can explain that a bit, then that just changed their lives, and none of that other stuff really mattered. So, and you talked a lot about how the sugar is going to affect your system and and how much insulin you're going to have to produce, and it's going to lead to diabetes in one way or another. Whether the uptake is not working or whether it's just not producing enough insulin anymore. There's a lot of ways that can mess you up, and it's a really sad, terrible epidemic we're dealing with right now. And that's why we gauge our food, within the book and within the movie from the sane perspective. So that means satiety, which you referenced, aggression, which is how aggressive it is toward your hormones and how much it's making your body produce other things to deal with that food. Nutrition, which is the relative level of nutrients per calorie. And then efficiency, which is how easily it is to turn whatever food it is, the macros basically, into fat. So those are the four ways we identify it. You want high satiety. You want foods that are high in satiety, that are low in aggression, that are high in nutrition, that are inefficient. So that's how we look at that, and that gives us a basic measuring stick for anything you can put in your body. And we go over that in detail in the book, in the movie. And obviously, me just spouting it for a couple minutes doesn't mean much if you've never heard these terms before, don't get the concepts. But
sure.
yeah,
And the other thing, I also tell a lot of my patients are two things: is the society norms. I'm puzzled by that.
yeah,
For some reason they forgive men being overweight, and so they expect them actually. So there was an interesting fact that ladies were more attractive to obese people, because they thought they'll be more loyal. So for some reason,
oh yeah,
how true is that? And so I said, wow. And then the second concept is that they push female being slim and all that. But actually, if we look at the hormones and also the metabolism, this is my theory, is that men needs to be leaner. Okay, because reason is more fat you deposit, it produces estrogen, and then so your testosterone estrogen ratio changes, and that's the worst for your libido, and also for your men needs testosterone. Period.
yeah.
So if you want to worsen your ratio, gain weight. That's the
Yeah, that's an interesting dynamic there that I think a lot of that is being lost a lot recently, because people have been talking about low T, right? Low testosterone, and trying to take supplements in one form or another to bring that back up. And I think there's obviously holistic ways of just approaching your life in a different way that's going to solve that for a lot of people. And it's the same thing. It's trying to, I'm not to say that there aren't useful situations for that, but it is the big businesses, the big pharma, whatever you want to say. And not to say they're a boogeyman all the time, but they're definitely trying to find a way to feed us something that costs money that we could get for free some other way, or just include as part of our daily regimen. And they wouldn't be making any money off of it. So, that's really coming full circle what we were talking about before. I mean, there's a reason why you take something like an apple that is healthy, it's got a lot of protein. It fills, or not protein, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, fiber. It
fiber.
fills you up to some extent. You know, you eat four, who can eat 4 apples? That's a lot, right? So it's sweet, it's nice. You know, there's a lot to it that's great. But the people are going to find a way to sell that to you in a different form that actually is significantly worse. And they're going to be able to put apple juice in something that doesn't need apple juice in it to make it sweeter than it needs to be in a repackaged form with a bunch of other simple carbohydrates all around it in some sort of bar and sell it back to you when you should just be eating the damn apple. And
Yeah.
that's, you know, that's how we get convinced of those things. And like you say, our society sort of takes those as norms after a while.
Mm.
And then not only that, but now, you know, the big fat tough guy, whatever, you know, the stereotypically or whatever, he didn't even want to eat an apple because that's not what men eat, right? So there's a lot of stereotypical norms there that really hurt us and are, they're not factual, they're not based on good science, they don't do us any good. And I
Mm.
think it's time for us to reevaluate those things. And I think within the movie, there's a lot of reevaluation done, and there's time for people who have been through this their entire lives, 60, 70 years, to say, like, I threw off the shackles of what that was. I learned to look at the world and myself in an entirely different way.
Mm.
And I've never been better and I've never felt the same. And I'm so excited about it. So that's really what we're trying to bring to the audience. And,
Yeah, okay,
you know,
and that is very nice. Actually, I think it's gonna be great. I'm so excited. I can't wait for that. Other thing I also want to also point out is that there's bullying. When I was in med school, last year I was like this, but when you're graduating, they thought that you are, being a doctor, you need to have a big belly, and being like, look like doctor. So right now you look like student, okay, or intern. So this concept was very bad actually. So that caused me to actually gain weight because I wanted intentionally to overeat and gain weight. But that's
wow.
sad. But that's how the norm, unfortunate. So some norms actually make it. It's probably reverse is also true for female. They they push them to certain sizes, and that's not the aim of lifestyle is never to prepare you for a ramp walk or anything. It is more to actually in tune to your own self, to go to your default setting, to be your best in terms of your performance. And also, I tell a lot of people is uh, whatever food is written in your destiny, you're gonna get it. No need to hurry up. If you're gonna eat it in 5 years versus 10 years, guess what? You are going to reduce your lifespan because first of all you'll get sick, you'll get diabetes, heart attack, and all that, and you cut down your life. Actually, just the total amount does not change. So that's why
Hmm.
I say slow down your pace, slow down your desires, take control on them, because that's what is needed. So once they get, oh yeah, now I said there's no hurry. I mean, why you have to hurry? You will get to eat slowly, less, and eat another day. I mean, that's what I
Yeah.
tell myself. I'm gonna eat. Okay, that I'll eat in 2 hours. I don't have to finish all it right now, right?
Yeah.
So that is. And the other thing which a lot of my patient shared, and is good, is to keep you look at yourself, and you should appreciate, and then take pictures, and celebrate all your progress. So even 5-10 pound or whatever lifestyle change. And good thing is, if you do it for family, make it a family affair. Don't make it it's very hard if one person is doing that and rest of the family doesn't listen. It becomes harder. When I was doing, my wife gave up all. She did not need to. She was always skinny, but she didn't want to eat in front of me because she would feel that would make me feel bad or feel guilt. So there was a lot of family support. I couldn't have done it if she wasn't very supportive. So same thing is for everybody's family, is make it routine with your kids, walk. And the other thing is, people don't walk. Sitting disease is such a big thing, so no physical activity. So no whatsoever. And pay attention to your sleep. Sleep is such an important concept. A lot of people don't realize, but a lot of carb craving is as a result of lack of good quality sleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, my book is also on Amazon. Keep it simple: diet, sleep, exercise, and it is. I tell a lot of my patients, look at me. If I can do and I am still doing it, why don't you do it? And that I, for most of people, they listen, and I feel that if you talk to them, they do listen, and which is whatever. They can take grasp 10%, 5%, or even any percent. I'll be very happy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really what you want, is to make some sort of a difference. If it changes one person's life, if one person is saved from an early death from diabetes, then you've done something, and that's really admirable. And yeah, I mean, if people, it's a complicated world we live in, so keeping it simple is certainly a good approach to that, and not trying to overcomplicate things that we can do naturally with a little bit better of understanding of how it works. I mean, that is definitely a problem with the modern world, is that everyone wants to be sold something, and they don't want to be sold something, but that's not how their behavior ends up changing economics. I mean, it is the fact that they want to be sold something. And so I think taking a look at that and saying, like, I can do this by myself, or I can do this with my family, with my friends. I don't need to buy something necessarily. I can embrace what my body wants to eat, and that can nourish me in a different way than all this other stuff that I knew I didn't really want, and I knew wasn't good for me, and was only creating other vicious cycles. Yeah, like you say, yeah, that's a pretty profound idea, that you're going to eat the same amount of food either way. You can pack it into 40 years, or 60 years, or make it 80 years or whatever, but when you're just packing it in there, I mean, it's going to decrease your lifespan. So yeah, that's an interesting way to put that.
Yeah, and I said, and then so then they listen, and actually, it actually helps me too. I mean, these are all concepts which I use myself. So and then I think it helps a lot of people. Well, thank you for coming. And any final thoughts you have for my audience?
Go to bettermovie.com, see what we got coming up. It's going to be streaming multiple places in January. You can buy it on iTunes, buy it on Amazon, that sort of thing. But bettermovie.com, yeah. Sign up, find out. I mean, there's a lot of really incredible information there from a lot of really brilliant people at Harvard, and from a number of best-selling authors. And yeah,
Okay,
take a look.
well, yes, be sure. I'll be very interested in looking for it, and when it comes, come back, and we'll happily hear some, info for my audience. So I think January is a little far still, but
Yeah,
keep them reminding. Thank you.
yeah, that'd be great. Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Moby.
Take care. Take care, sir.
You too.